And I went into that office on Monday and I said, hey, listen, I understand I've been a knucklehead. I understand I haven't been listening, but I'm asking for another shot. He said, what are you talking about? He said, listen, man, I was thinking about quitting, but I'm asking for a shot from you to train me, to mentor me, and to tell me everything I need to do. And if I don't do it, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to fire me. And he looked at me and he laughed at me. He said, hey, Dave, I was gonna fire you this week anyway. And my hands got clammy and I started getting a little cold sweats. And I said, well, wait, what do you mean? Why? I'm coming at you. I said, Dave, you're negative. You don't dial. You leave early. You're making excuses. You're an example. You're a bad example to all of the rest of the team. Why should I keep you? I'm willing to change, bro. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. From this point forward, if I don't do it, I'm going to fire me. And he said, deal. He wrote it out. This is how many dials. This is how many appointments. This is how many. And if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you. I said, deal. We shook on it. I kid you not. It was like a light bulb went off. Fairy dust. Blessing came over me. That week I made 3 sales. Next week I made 4 sales. Within 3 months, I was a top producer in that agency. A year into the business, I bought a $400,000 house all by myself, moved in, pillow, a blanket, and a suitcase, scared.
$400,000. And how much money did you make your first year?
I made $91,000.
Wow.
My first year. And let me tell you what my comp was. I started at a 35% comp level.
I did too.
Most people are like, no, that's crazy. And I worked my way up.
Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. Today we got a special guest live in studio in Springfield, Missouri. Let me give you some feedback on who this cat is really quick. Okay? This dude is super freaking impressive. Love hanging with this dude. Great couple, awesome wife. Orange County, California, running a 7-figure agency, the Alvarado Master Agency. Please welcome David Alvarado.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I'm excited you are here, man, especially in the studio, on the channel, on the podcast. I love it.
You know, it is a little bit of a dream. You know, we all see you on social. We all see you on YouTube. And at one point you kind of ask yourself, how could I get myself there? You know, and you just never know. But when you believe it and you can say, I can see myself there. And now here we are. And I'm so excited to be here. You know, obviously, amazing person. Wife is amazing.
You too.
Now that I'm here in your studio, your cast, your crew, everybody, just amazing. It's amazing to see what a well-organized machine you got built here.
Dude, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's kind of what everybody grows up wanting when they're thinking about business or a business owner being self-employed. Is like, hey, dude, how do I really start to scale a well-oiled machine? You know?
Correct.
One thing you just said too is like, actually, before I go there, what has stood out? Like, you've been here for 5.5 hours today.
Yeah.
For those that haven't been here, what has stood out to you from the environment, maybe the culture, maybe the office? What's something that maybe you're going to take it back home? I don't know. What stood out to you?
Oh, I took a lot of mental notes. Right. Good. Number one is you have somebody starting your meeting, not you, and that's what I usually do. So I start the meeting. And you're having some wins, you're having some gratitude. That's something that every team needs to adopt first and foremost, is start that positive vibe. But when you have somebody else bring that topic up of entrepreneurship, of positive thinking, of being able to look at other entrepreneurs that have been where we are at and show their growth and show their development, and just bring that to perspective, because we all feel like it's not possible, or how could I do it? I don't even know where to start. Well, everybody starts that way. But when you put yourself in perspective that, hey, that guy, that billionaire started right where I'm at today, and he valued himself a little bit more, and that's why he got to where he's at. And when you see that, and you got new guys, you guys got guys that have been here for a while, you got execs, and everybody is working together. Everybody's excited to be with you, run next to each other. And almost it's like we're all in the same playing field, and nobody's above anybody. And that's a great environment to be in. You know, the coffee's great, right?
Yeah.
The dog Coco is great to see. amazing. I mean, you guys got everything organized. Everybody knows where they need to be. Everybody knows where they need to be at and what they need to do. And that's a lot. That small little 30-minute huddle was a lot of what I took away.
Thanks, man. That's so cool. It's good to have you here and to get to see some of that. Before we transition to your story, y'all don't realize this, but or maybe you should, or you do if you were at the event. David Alvarado was a part of our Ultimate Agent tour, where we went to 5 cities in 5 days on a 30-passenger jet. Orlando, Atlanta, Charlotte, Chicago, and Dallas.
Yes.
Which was we could spend hours or days talking about just that trip, you know.
Yes.
And it was insane. What was that? And he spoke at every event. Great speaker, really good trainer, gave some really great content, connected with tons of agents around the country during that. What was that experience like? And for those that are like, I either remember the Ultimate Agent Tour or I don't even know what you're talking about.
So the Ultimate Agent Tour is an opportunity for somebody that doesn't feel like they can make it to have an opportunity to make it, right? We've all seen the ultimate, the MMA guys, right? We've seen those guys. And for someone like me coming into the opportunity to speak at these events, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I was talking about. I put together a slideshow probably a week before we all came on tour. I've never been on a jet before. I've been on these, 747s going to wherever, whenever. But on a jet with a bunch of individuals that are at my level or higher, in some cases even lower, when you're having those conversations, it's exciting. Number one, your emotions are through the roof.
True.
I'm 41 years old. There's not very many things out there that get me super excited that way. And you walk into this thing not knowing much about what's to expect, how to do it. I've never done a tour before in my life, and let alone stand on stage in my life. I haven't done any of that stuff. So to be a part of that, I can tell you that it was more fun than it was work. It was worth every penny.
That's awesome.
Because of the relationships I built, right? I met people from all across the country that I would have never met if it wasn't for you putting on this event.
Yes.
And then you meet agents, right? From all across. People drove 2 hours, 4 hours, flew in to be part of the Ultimate Agent. And you see these guys that are new in the business, or they just want a second chance. And they were up there, they were pouring their hearts out. They gave their best. They got picked. Some didn't get picked. And I hope they still are thriving in this industry.
I do too.
But I can tell you, it's a staple to my life. I can tell you that right now. That's something I can talk back. I can look back and talk about it and say, this is what I learned.
Yeah.
This is where I grew from it. And was it worth every penny? Absolutely.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that too. Because like for those that don't know, we chose agents for Ultimate Agent Season 2 at the tour.
Yeah.
Which we may do in the future again because I loved it and it was fun. It was crazy. But it was also interesting because and I don't know if you can, you could probably maybe relate to this a little bit too. You're more on the ground with agents, with your agency, so maybe this.
Yeah.
But for me, as we grow and do more, it's easy to lose connection with an individual agent that's like alone or like to not understand what they're going through because I haven't sold in years. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that gave me and my team and I like a live look at like what's going on around the country and like feedback from agents and how one individual had to take 2 or 3 different buses from some part of Chicago to this hotel just because she wanted to be picked for the show.
Yeah.
And she was picked for the show.
Yeah.
And she was just on the show. And Keith's been editing some Ultimate Agent Season 2. We've got a couple episodes done. And so to see that and the feedback from some of the agents and like what was happening and their excitement and feelings. And it also proves that like, if you really want something in life, you have to show up.
Yes.
And the people that showed up, they had a little special night, got to hang out, do the event. So it was cool. So thank you for being a part of that. You were amazing, and I loved it, dude. I loved it, man. So good.
I was just absorbing as much as I can. I felt new, like these newer agents coming on that are taking trips and stuff. I mean, I don't even know how I got picked to be on stage.
Yeah.
Let alone feeling like I've I qualify to be on a stage next to Cody Askins and crew. Like I didn't know I qualify for that stuff.
You totally do.
But you're absolutely right. You got to put yourself out there, and you either can put yourself on an island or you can put yourself in front of a stage, and it's your choice.
Yeah.
And if you want it, you got to go after it.
True. That's a lot of it, is putting yourself out there. We're never ready. We're never prepared fully. We never think we've earned it,
Right.
But it's you'd have to put yourself out there. For those that don't know your story and who you are, because I can't believe this is the first time you're on the channel, because we've been hanging out for a while and you're freaking awesome and so elite. But I guess if we interviewed everybody that was elite in the insurance industry, it would take years,
Right.
decades, who knows. Who the heck is David Alvarado? Where are you from? How did you grow up? What is your story? How did you end up in insurance?
Well, I won't take a lot of time because I can get into it really.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you to sum it up is, I grew up in Ontario, California. My parents are, immigrants from Mexico. They came out here. I'm first generation, and it's tough coming from that background because they have a limited mindset. Hispanics from first generation have that limited mindset where go get a job, go to school, and then live happily ever after, and be content with what you have. And that's not something that fit well with me. My mom was a business owner, and when she was a business owner, I kind of saw her work, and I saw what she did, and I saw the hard work she did. Working 10, 15 hours a day sometimes. And I kid you not, I was there hating it. But once I graduated college, got my degree, went to work, I realized that, I spent a lot of time, dedication, and money getting an education, and it still didn't give me what I felt like I was worth. And I vocalized that in my employment. Why am I not moving up faster if I put in the work to get the education? And as you know, when you're an employment standpoint like that and they don't like what you're saying, sometimes the moment things get slow, you get clipped. And that was me. The worst day of my life. I got fired from my career job. Going home that day, tears in my eyes, I get a phone call from one of my friends that I have not talked to in a long time. And I would have normally not answered this phone call. But because I was in a vulnerable position, I answered it, wiping my tears. And hey, what's going on? Well, how was your day? I got fired. Man, that's horrible. Yes, it is. And what are you gonna do? I don't know. Well, hey, Dave, listen, I just joined the insurance industry. There's this company called ProMart Financial I started working at. I'm making good money. How about you come check it out? I was like, bro, I don't sell insurance. I'm not a salesman. I'm a math guy. I like problem solving. I'm a tech guy. He said, don't worry about it. Just show up and see what happens. They'll train you. He's like, you have nothing to lose. And I said, you're absolutely right. I have nothing to lose. So I literally showed up in my work clothes, work boots, in my workman shirt, and smelly from the day because it's hot and we were working outside.
Kind of stinky.
Seriously. And the guy that interviewed me, he kind of gave me a quick 5-minute interview. He said, hey, how about you come back tomorrow? This is a business environment. Come in with a suit and tie, and I'll give you an interview. I came back.
With a suit and a tie?
With a suit and a tie. It was my dad's. Didn't even fit me.
Was it too big?
It was horribly big, right? But I came in there and I sat there and I said, you know what? Where do I sign? I need to do this. And because I saw the success, I saw the money. I mean, the guy had a Rolex with more diamonds on it than I've ever seen in my life. Looked like 50 cents Rolex, so all I saw was opportunity. So I went out and got my license. And I came in and I was excited. Now, there's something about the insurance industry. When you're excited, all obstacles get out of their way. Yeah. You don't have to be the know-it-all. You don't have to know product. You don't know how to sell. You just have to be excited. And then the bad part about the insurance industry is when you think you got it, you stop being excited. And then that's when your experience needs to overcome the lack of excitement. Now, if you don't have experience like I didn't, all of a sudden, you start running into walls that you can't get over. No sale after no sale after no sale. And this is my second month. When I walked in, I gave myself 6 months of undivided attention, meaning I am not going to be submitting resumes. I'm not going to be looking left and right. I'm not going to be looking for other jobs.
That was a decision you made.
That was a decision I made.
Wow.
And I was already thinking about quitting my second month because I was making no sales. So, I was really down on myself, and I was thinking about, going back to the electronic industry. And before I left, I went up one of the guys. I was like, hey, why are you making it and why am I not?
You said that?
I went to the top guy and I said, why are you making it? Why am I not? And he gave me the ugly truth.
What did he say?
He said, Dave, you want me to tell you the truth? And I said, yeah. He said, listen, man, you show up late, you leave early. You complain about leads, you complain about your scripts, you don't study, and you make excuses about everything why you're not being successful. He said, me, I show up early, I leave late, I don't leave until the job is done, I don't stop working until I get the amount of appointments booked on my schedule. I study my scripts, I know what to say, I'm confident in what I say, and because of that, I'm making $18,000, $20,000 a month. And this is all personal production.
What did you think in that moment when he said that?
I said, you know what? It's not me. It can't be me. I am doing that. I am studying. I am dialing.
Why does our pride get in the way?
Because nobody wants to point the finger at yourself, right? Nobody wants to say it's this guy right here, the guy in the mirror. And he literally told me that, Dave, it's you. Cut that out, bro. If you want to make it here, you're going to do everything the manager tells you to do. Our agency owner. He said, if you don't, you're just going to be gone and you're going to be another statistic. And I was like, man, I went home that day literally feeling like somebody punched me in the stomach.
Wow.
And it hurt. So I went home and I literally stared myself at the mirror and I said, Dave, this is it. You're either going to go back to the electronic industry, which you already know what that's all about. It's hard to get a job in as it is to pay you a decent salary, or you're going to do everything your agency owners tend to tell you to do. Commit 100%. No half-ass, no 99, 98%, 100%. I said, that's it. I'm going to give myself 4 more months of my undivided commitment. So now first it wasn't a undivided attention. Now it's an undivided commitment. And I went into that office on Monday and I said, hey, listen, I understand I've been a knucklehead. I understand I haven't been listening, but I'm asking for another shot. He said, what are you talking about? He said, listen, man, I was thinking about quitting, but I'm asking for a shot from you to train me, to mentor me, and to tell me everything I need to do. And if I don't do it, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to fire me. And he looked at me and he laughed at me. He said, hey, Dave, I was gonna fire you this week anyway. And my hands got clammy and I started getting a little cold sweats. And I said, well, wait, what do you mean? Why? I'm coming at you. I said, Dave, you're negative. You don't dial. You leave early. You're making excuses. You're an example. You're a bad example to all of the rest of the team. Why should I keep you? I'm willing to change, bro. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. From this point forward, if I don't do it, I'm going to fire me. And he said, deal. He wrote it out. This is how many dials. This is how many appointments. This is how many. And if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you. I said, deal. We shook hands. I kid you not. It was like a light bulb went off. Fairy dust. Blessing came over me. That week I made 3 sales. Next week I made 4 sales. Within 3 months, I was a top producer in that agency. A year into the business, I bought a $400,000 house all by myself, moved in, pillow, a blanket, and a suitcase, scared.
$400,000. And how much money did you make your first year?
I mean, $91,000.
Wow.
My first year. And let me tell you what my comp was. I started at a 35% comp level.
I did too.
Most people are like, no, that's crazy. And I worked my way up. But what I can tell you is that day that I committed had literally was the backbone of my entire career. Because 5 years later, I became an agency owner. 2 years later after that, I became a top producing agency owner. 2 years later after that, I created a protege. And now he is an agency owner and he outproduces me. You always want to hire somebody better than you. And today, I'm consistently reevaluating myself. I'm reevaluating who I am, and so I can become better and hire better people. And I know the system. I can replicate it. It's replicatable. It's scalable. We just got to surround ourselves around the right people, and it starts with you.
True.
You attract like-minded individuals. If you're good, you're going to attract good people. If you're not so good, well, that's who you're going to attract.
Yeah.
And that's my story to this day. And what I understand now more than ever is leadership is what I lack. That's one of my challenges is learning how to lead this ship better and better. And I've gotten all the sales skills I need. I can train sales skills all day long, advanced sales, whether it's final expense, whether people are sick, whether people are wanting to do retirement. I know all of that. But the hardest part is leadership. Because you got to know yourself to lead yourself and then to lead others.
Amen. Yeah. Wow. So from being late, not showing up early, complaining, making excuses, not studying, being negative, not dialing, etc., to about to be fired, about to quit to now making 7 figures.
Yeah.
And what time frame? That moment to now?
It's been 18 years now.
18 years.
18 years.
And how long did it take to get to 7 figures? Would you say for you?
It took me. Well, it depends. I can tell you, I got to 7 figures in 2017.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
2018.
About a dozen years or something like that.
Yeah, about a dozen years. Yeah.
That's awesome though. I mean, dude. Most people never reach that, and there was a moment in time where you didn't think you would either.
Oh yeah. I mean, you think 7 figures is a big number, but it's really not.
Until you get there.
Yeah, until you get there, and it's like it's not that big.
That's true with any level though. Like 100 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, $250,000, $500,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But what I've heard is that once you get your first million, it's easier to get to 8 figures than it was to 7 figures.
Yes.
All right.
I could totally see that. Yeah. I mean, mine's not all under one company, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I haven't heard that a lot, but that's good. I've heard that, but not a ton. That's awesome. What were you like growing up as a kid? Talking about your family and your parents, and you mentioned your mom and dad.
Yeah. So I was a second born. My oldest brother is 3.5 years older than me. And growing up, I would say middle America, my parents we're not poor by any means. We were not rich by any means, but we were right there, right in the middle. My parents were always working. And that's one thing that I knew I did not want to do, is to be in a position to never be around my kids, because
Do you think that's why you showed up late and left early when you had your original opportunity? Or did you not have kids yet? Then?
I didn't have kids yet.
Yeah,
no.
okay.
I was young.
Or maybe you were thinking, I don't want to give my life to my job like my parents did.
To answer that question, the reason why I showed up late and left early is because I thought that because you're an entrepreneur now, or a solopreneur, you can just do whatever you want. The moment you take away a schedule from somebody, now all of a sudden I'm open. I can do whatever I want whenever I want to do it.
Yeah.
And you come to realize that that's not true.
No.
Right? A business owner has a schedule.
It's more the opposite.
It is more the opposite, for sure.
Than we think.
But now you have to put it on yourself versus somebody putting it on you. And when you've never put that type of accountability on yourself, now all of a sudden there's no accountability and you can do whatever you want.
Totally.
And that's the problem, is that you think that by doing whatever you want, you're going to get the results you want. And that's not the case.
No, that's good.
Right? So when I came to realize, why did I leave late show up late and leave early? Because I thought that with the little effort I put in, because I'm good, I'm going to get the results that I want. And that's not the truth. There is such thing as beginner's luck, and it's that excitement. And you're always doing everything you want that everybody's telling you to do when you first start. All of a sudden you think you got it.
Yeah.
And then you lose the common practice that gets you the results that they're promising you, right? We all know that if you dial for a certain amount of hours, you're going to get a certain amount of sets. And if you don't, then all you need to do is a little bit of course correction.
Yeah.
But to get back to my story, with being a second born, my older brother really had a hard upbringing, with just going down the wrong direction, hanging out with the wrong people. And I learned from that right away, is that I don't want to go down that direction with him.
Yeah.
And that's why I focused on school, and that's why I was the first one to graduate in my family, the first one to graduate from college in my family.
Wow.
My mom always believed in me. I mean, she told me, David, you're going to be something one day. David, you're going to do this. It's choking me up right now, because I can tell you that she's the reason why I feel like I got to go out there and work harder. And I know I'm beginning to get emotional, but she's my backbone. She's my why. And when you think about that, and it gets you emotional, that's a strong why.
Yeah,
and you're not going to give it up.
No.
And my why has grown from being my mom, and now my wife, and then my kids, and being an example for them, because I don't want my kids to go out there and figure it out when I can show them, hey, listen, you can do that, you can go figure it out if that's what you want, or you can follow my lead. And what is that? Is, hey, be an entrepreneur. Go learn how to do business.
Yeah.
Learn how to create relationships. We are in the people business. It doesn't matter what you do. we're all building relationships with the right people. True. And I didn't believe that when I was growing up. Everything, you're Latino and you speak, your parents speak Spanish, people judge, and you think about all of the tough things you see on TV for Hispanic communities. That is what happens, right? The jokes or the bad mouthing, that I got it all. And it just destroys your self-esteem growing up.
Wow.
And you have to fight it inside of you, because you could either allow it to destroy you and you continue to get more negative, and then you hang out the wrong people and then you start going the wrong direction, or you say, you know what, if I can be comfortable around my people, and what I'm saying, people that are the same Hispanic background, I can be comfortable around anybody.
Yeah.
I gotta feel like I fit, because I at one point felt like I didn't fit. And now I can go anywhere and be me and not feel like I don't fit in. So watching my parents work all the time, being solopreneurs, because they owned their own business, one thing that I knew I didn't want to do is to always be away from my family, because I felt like we grew up by ourselves almost.
What'd they own? What'd they run?
They owned a beauty shop. They cut hair. My mom did the women's hair. My dad did the men's hair. And they never learned how to get out of the business. They always worked in the business, not on the business.
They never scaled outside of them.
They never scaled outside. And that's like 99% of the problem for all small business owners, that they don't know how to get out of it.
100%. Yep. And what were some of the business lessons that you learned early on watching them run a beauty shop together?
I can tell you that one of the first one is work hard, right? First, you got to work in your business, and then you got to work on your business. But number two is you have to learn how to have that leadership mindset, because that's one thing that they did not have, is leadership mindset. They always dominated their environment. They tried to control people. They did not liberate people. They kept people below them instead of trying to bring them above them. And those principles, they're biblical principle, number one, and they're principles in everything in life, friendships, business. True. And they kept people down here because they were afraid that if they brought somebody up, that they would steal business or blah, 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 blah. Wow. And I learned that right away, because they never were able to duplicate themselves.
Is that a lack of trust in, because were they born in this country or no?
No, they were born in Mexico.
Was that a lack of trust in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Coming into a new country, coming from the towns, the small towns that's all that is there. That lack of trust, that lack of belief, that lack that people are here to help each other, not to take away from each other. Yeah. And that they're very guarded. They're guarded, and I can see that now. And I speak to, people, and I'm like, man, this person's just so guarded. No trust, no. And of course, if you don't trust anybody, no one's going to trust you.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that's like super guarded and that's actually holding them back a lot?
This is an easy one for me, because I used to be that way. That's what I came from. Is that if you never learn to trust anybody, it's because you don't trust yourself first. And a lot of people say, yes, I do trust myself. But when you can trust yourself fully, you can trust others. Yeah,
because if you trusted yourself, you would put yourself out there. Yeah, and be confident and trust your ability to handle those interactions. That's exactly right. Good. That's good.
And if you never allow yourself to trust anybody, you're going to do everything, and you can't do everything. You're going to be a jack of all those trades and master of none of them. And yes, you can become good at things, but you're going to be working a heck of a lot of hours, and you're never going to have any freedom for your family.
What was it like to feel like you didn't fit? I feel like you didn't fit in.
Man, that's probably one of the most, I want to say, just draining feelings ever. Because when you're in a room and you don't feel like you fit in, you want to take yourself out. Like it's like water and oil. You separate, and why? And it's not because people want to separate from you. It's because you want to separate from people. Yeah. Right? Generally speaking, most people are nice in an environment. Yeah. Doesn't matter what color you are or where you come from.
Correct.
But it's how you feel on the inside that people will see on your face, and by the way you respond to things that all of a sudden now you separated yourself. They didn't separate them from you. So what that feels like, it literally is an uncomfortable feeling that you speak from a lower level, like you're speaking up to people instead of at people.
Yeah.
And we're all here at eye level, you know.
True.
Even though I feel like you're way up here than me, me and you are at eye level.
Is that just because I'm a little taller? Or?
That's exactly why. No, I'm just kidding. But we're all, as long as you treat people that we're at the same level, they will treat you the same way.
100%.
And there's some people out there that think they're above the whole world, and
yeah,
that's okay. You know, you separate yourself.
You mentioned earlier one of the. Actually, I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to that in a second. I want to go back to your mom for a second. Okay. That was clearly like she had a deep imprint on your life and who you are, you know. What did she do for you? Where does that come from? Why is there so much love and respect there? Why do you get emotional when you still talk about her today? You know what I mean? Like, that's special. That's awesome.
You know, my mom was, she was the backbone of our family. Like, she worked hard. She's not emotional at all. Like, she's actually the least emotional person in my household.
Wow.
Yeah. And I know why, right? Because of my grandfather and my grandmother. My grandmother is she lacks emotion a tremendous amount. My grandfather was more of the emotional one. And my dad, I can tell you, my dad was like the mom figure, even though my dad's very alpha, you know, but my mom was very alpha too. And one's got to give. And my mom was very hard to please. She was tough on us, you know. My dad was tough on us, but he was a little more easier to please. I can get a smile out of my dad's face a little easier than my mom. And you know, she worked hard. She was business mindseted. She did not want to be average. And she knew that I was going to be a success because she believed in me. And, you know, people take that for granted. The fact that you believe in me, you know, and when you hear it once, you hear it twice, and you're going to be somebody, and you're going to be somebody, it's a weight, you know, and now it's like, man, I got to come through.
Yes.
You know, and, you know, when you talk about why, you know, I get emotional is because, you know, I haven't really shared a lot of emotions with my parents, to be honest. Like, it's one of those relationships where I love you is not a common thing to say in the household. Mm-hmm. So I decided to change that with my kids.
That's awesome.
But she knows I love her, and I know she loves me, right? But when I talk about, you know, my mom and even my dad, it is emotional for me because of all of the things that they went through for us, and all of the things that I did that I'm not proud of, and I asked for their forgiveness. But today, I can say back then my dream was to get them to stop working, to get them to go on vacation. They never went on vacation one time. They didn't, let alone take us on vacation. So today, because I've worked hard and I've reached the level of success that I'm at today, I can take them on vacation. Yeah. And I just did that not too long ago. And
that's awesome.
It was probably one of the most emotional things that I did was I told my parents, I was like, you know, you fulfilled my dream to be able to take you on vacation.
Yeah. Do you think that's why you work and push so hard, so that their work that maybe was never financially to the level of your work didn't go to waste?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and that like they sacrificed a lot so that you could be who you are.
Yes.
And be where you're at to a degree, right?
You know, I took everything they did very, very seriously, you know, because they worked a lot, man. I mean, I'm telling you, when they worked a lot, 4, 5, 6 days out of the week, I would be asleep and they'd wake me up to have dinner because I didn't have dinner.
Jeez Louise.
Right? And so when all of that was happening, growing up, them believing in me, going to college, and then them being there when I graduated, them pushing me to get a job. And then all of a sudden I get into the insurance industry. Here's the kicker. Don't do it, Dave. Go get a job, Dave. Go do what you went to school for, David.
Well, but they owned a business.
I know.
But did it fail?
And not until recently where they just closed doors because they retired.
Got it. So it ran for
40 years.
Wow. Okay.
40 years.
So they ran something for 40 years, but you know what? It's probably their love and concern for you, you know, that like, hey, we did something for 40 years, but we don't want you to do the same thing.
Yeah. They worked hard in their business and they were enslaved to their business. And they never got out of it being a business owner because they were self-employed in their own business. Yep. And so they think that getting a degree and getting a job is the American dream.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because like most people that they own a business, but they are a employee.
Yes.
That just works twice as much as any other employee ever would.
Exactly right.
You know,
they're a super employee in their own business.
Super employee. I like that. That's good. That's good. Did you feel like and I'm going somewhere with this, but do you feel like your parents were hard on you because they knew what you were capable of or the life they wanted you to be able to have, and in turn you really wanted to please them and do right by them? So I asked that because like my parents were super hard on me, you know, and I saw them work a lot, not come for money, create something. Like I saw that, like we didn't have money as a kid, but then when I'm in my teenage years, my dad's making almost $1 million a year, like doing well. And then I'm around it and I'm like, dang, I want this life, if not more. You know what I mean? But it was like, I saw the future before most people do because of what I experienced. First child, 3 younger sisters. We start out in like a 700, 800 square foot home, end up in a 5,000 square foot house in Missouri, started out in Arkansas. I'm not saying you can't have nice stuff in Arkansas, but we didn't as much as we did here, right?
Yeah.
You see where I'm going?
Yeah. So, you know, when it comes to my parents believing in me, and they were hard on me because they were just, again, nothing was enough. Nothing was, hey, you did good. It's not good enough. And I believe that because they had this upbringing that nothing's ever good enough, right? Yeah. And they weren't really big cheerleaders. Like, oh yeah, you're doing great, keep going. They were not a big cheerleader in my corner. My mom saw that I cared about my success, my grades, my what I was statured in school. She saw that and she was like, okay, well, I can support him on that. And I remember she bought me my first card because I got all A's, you know, and that felt good to get rewarded. And there was small rewards that allowed me to want it more. And then, hey, you're going to go to college. I'm going to help you. Great. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to want it more. And then getting into a job that paid me $18 an hour, which I thought was great for a 21-year-old kid back then. Now today, having the success that I have, they didn't know. Man. Yeah. I mean, listen, if you don't know, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And my parents were hard on me because they were just hard on themselves. They were hard on everything. Nothing was good enough. And they couldn't see the opportunity bigger than what is in that little small circle. And today they still can't believe the level of success that we've achieved or I've achieved in the last 18 years here in the insurance industry. And they're just like, man, should I start selling insurance, Dave? Could I start selling insurance, Dave? I said, absolutely. I can get you to start selling all your friends that you cut hair to.
True.
And, you know, but a lot of people don't know what their why is. And I think it's not because you don't have one. It's because you don't care to look for one.
Yep.
We all have one.
Amen.
You have one.
Amen.
And that's why you are where you're at. And I remember not even thinking I had a why until one day I found it. And I said, this is my why. And that's why I can still get emotional today when I speak about it, because that continues to be my number one why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so relatable to others too. And then when they see your story and hear what you're talking about, like they're going to be like, man, I like this. This is, you know, he's being vulnerable. He's being honest. He knows what he's doing and why he's doing it. I think it's probably safe to say that like you grew up compared to most, you grew up without money per se. you know, to a degree, even though they had the shop. When did you first start noticing money and success and like starting to think that you may want some of that when you grow up?
So the hardest thing for me was seeing all my friends get all this cool stuff, right? And I had none of it. My parents were very frugal. They did not spend any money, especially extras. It was bare minimum, save money, bare minimum, save money.
Yeah.
And then when I realized that, hey, I want to start having these nice things, I started going out there and working for it, cutting lawns, washing cars, collecting cans, do whatever I could. I mean, if I saw a penny on the floor, I'd pick it up, put it in my pocket, save it. And so watching everybody else grow and say, man, I want that too, but I know my parents aren't going to give it to me, so I got to go out and do it myself. And I mean, the moment I bought my first car, the biggest thing in the world, like, oh my God, I bought my first car all by myself.
What kind of car was it?
It was my first car was a Honda Accord, a 2-door.
Okay.
Put some rims on it. It looked
Let's
really
go.
cool.
Let's go.
But getting into the insurance industry, now my first luxury car was an Lexus IS 250. It was the new model from the old model,
Those are
right?
awesome.
Man, I thought it was the best thing ever. But then you start realizing that there's bigger, right? And you said there's more and there's more. And
Always another level.
there's always another level. And you know, and things are amazing, right? It's like things are amazing to have. The bigger houses, you know, the watches, the cars, those are amazing. But you eventually start get to a level with like, hey, all right, things don't matter anymore. I can buy everything I want now.
Yeah.
And things don't matter. Now it's about fulfillment. Now it's about creating more opportunities for not only for my family, but for others around me.
Yep.
I don't care about the things as much anymore, even though it probably doesn't look like it. But it's really not that big of a deal anymore. Now it's about winning the game, right?
Yeah.
It's about helping others win too.
Yes.
Because in this game of life, if nobody else is winning, you're not winning. It can't be just you.
No.
I know there's a ton of people winning here at Cody Askins Corporation. There's a ton of people winning.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you're going to continue to win more. And that's
100%.
what I'm looking for now.
100%. Yes. How did it feel to be the first one to graduate college from your family?
Oh man, that's probably one of the prouder moments.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everybody was there. I mean, talking about aunts, uncles.
What was that feeling
family.
when you are like walking on stage and they're calling your name and you're receiving your diploma and then you're walking off?
Yeah.
And all of your family who have never achieved that are watching and rooting you on.
Yeah. It's surreal, man. It's surreal. You almost have to pinch yourself a little bit and you kind of step back and absorb it because, you know, it's literally, you know, drinking water from a water hose. You know, so much happening, so much emotions. And it's kind of like, you know, the ultimate agent, you know, so many emotions meet on stage.
Yes.
And you got to kind of have to take a deep breath and absorb it all. And, you know, walking off stage, you know, you don't want the ego to get in your way and that pride to start creeping up because that's the first thing people tell you is, oh, don't start changing now. Don't start changing now.
Right.
So you do want to control that ego that starts to creep up and say, hey, I'm better than everybody when you're still not. And that's one of the things that growing up, it was hard for me is to have confidence. I was not a confident person growing up.
Yeah, because you seem confident, but you seem so far from arrogant now. Did you struggle with a lack of confidence and then too much?
Mm-hmm. I was an introvert growing up.
Okay.
You know, didn't talk to anybody. If you were talking to me, great. If not, I was the one listening. I would never said anything, never spoke up. I remember graduating high school and I said, that's it. I'm not going to be an introvert anymore. I'm going to talk. I'm going to share. I'm going to meet people.
Why?
And it grew to too much confidence. And I hung out with people that had that confidence. And I started realizing that people just didn't like me because of what my face looked like. You know, oh, you look like you're cocky. And I got that everywhere I went. I was like, well, bro, you haven't even got to know me yet. How do you judge me that way? Well, you know, and this and that. And it is what it is. But then now I started realizing that it's because of how I felt on the inside that people saw on the outside. And I did feel like I was better than a lot of people, even though I shouldn't have.
Sure.
And then now I tell everybody, you know, don't confuse my confidence for cockiness because it's a completely different thing. And if I know what I know and I'm confident at it, I'm not cocky. But I honestly feel it's the feeling that I have on the inside now that I feel everybody can achieve
the
level of success that I have.
Yep.
And everybody deserves to be confident in what they do.
True.
And just as long as you can check it and don't feel like you're better than anybody.
Yeah. You do a good job of that, by the way. Like you come across very humble, confident, hungry,
Yeah.
You don't come across arrogant, but also life happens to where one minute you're walking on stage receiving a diploma and the next minute you're getting fired from a career job.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you first thinking? What was the feeling when you got fired? And then what were you thinking when your friend called and said insurance?
So fired, I was crying. Literally, I was driving away, tears.
What were you thinking then while you were crying? Like,
what am I going to do now, right?
Because this was like what you wanted to do. Because what were you doing?
Electronic engineering.
And this was what you graduated from college for.
Correct.
So it aligned with your degree.
Yes.
It made sense.
Yes. Right. And it's hard to get a job, right? And so now I'm thinking, where am I going to go work now, right? What am I going to tell my parents? And what am I going to do? Unemployment's not enough. I got bills. I got this. So
Wasn't employment a thought?
Unemployment
temporarily? Were you ever going to do that?
Honestly, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even know it existed until someone told me, right? And the day that day where my buddy called me,
I think it's better if people don't even know it exists.
Unemployment, absolutely, yeah. I think it's more of a crutch than it is a cure.
100%.
Right? It's that
100%.
drug, like
That's good.
Here it is.
That's good.
Fix it with this, and it's not going to fix the problem.
No.
Right? So it doesn't build the urgency. So at that point, when he told me, hey, get into the insurance game, I mean, I'm not a sales guy. I've never sold a thing in my life. And you think of sales guys, right? High energy, happy, talking. They can sell water to a well. That's the
twisting words.
Yeah. I'm very straight, direct, and straight to the point. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I don't see myself as a sales guy. But the good thing about the insurance industry is we're not selling anything.
No, and there's a lot of people that are going to watch this. They're going to be like, I like that he says that because I don't see myself as a salesperson either, but I think I can make it in this career. Yeah. And if he can, you can too.
Absolutely. I'm the last person to sell anything. We talked about it yesterday over dinner. Said, do you ever talk to people about what you do? And I never talk to people. You will be friends with me. We'll be golfing on the golf course. You'll never know what I do. Mm-hmm. Because I'm just so focused at work that when I'm off, I want to be off. I want to enjoy my game. I want to enjoy my dinner. I don't want to talk about work. So I don't like to sell anything. I feel cheesy, I guess you can say. I'll talk about it. I'll share. I'll inform as much as I can. And that's what I like about the insurance industry today is that I understand that it's information. And the more information you're able to provide, the more somebody will sell themselves on what they need.
True.
And when this opportunity became about and I adapted that mindset, it's no longer sales. It's education. And take your desires off the table. Don't want a sell more than the client wants to buy. And I learned that really quick because you get commission breath and a lot of people are out there, you need it. And all of a sudden you can convince somebody to buy insurance today, but they'll cancel on you tomorrow. Yeah. I remember that if you see a red light on your phone, back then we had desk phones. If you see a red light because somebody left a message, it was because they were canceling. And I learned that right away. You stop trying to sell it. Stop trying to push insurance onto somebody because they might say yes to you today, but they'll cancel on you tomorrow.
That's good. You mentioned showing up and a gentleman that was recruiting, I think, was wearing a Rolex with like more diamonds than any watch you've ever seen, you know, back then. Mm-hmm. Is that a Rolex now?
Yes, it is a Rolex.
So what does it feel like to go from seeing a Rolex to buying a Rolex?
It's a huge trophy.
And why did that, him wearing one and you noticing it, is that because you always saw nice things? Mm-hmm. Friends had nice things. You're seeing other people in their career as an adult have nice things. Maybe you don't yet, but you want nice things. I
want you to imagine, again, somebody with low confidence, low self-esteem. Nobody believes that you're going to make it. I mean, that's where I came from. And when you see somebody that is wearing a Rolex, presidential Rolex with diamonds all around the bezel, all around the brace, everything, and saying, hey, if he believes I can do this business, that means I can eventually have that too. And that got me excited because I didn't think I was able to ever buy a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 watch. Like, I mean, you think about, most people can't even fathom spending that kind of money on somebody that sits on your wrist.
Correct.
Right? And today, now that I have it, I mean, it's a big purchase. It was scary. Yes, it was. But it is a trophy in life that you say, now I am at that level where I can afford to do it. And I can buy it 3 times. I can buy it 4 times. And I'm not going to charge it and put it on a card and pay a ton of interest on it. And when you have that type of opportunity, you become somebody else, man. We're all changing. We're ever changing, right? You don't want to be the same guy you were when you started the business.
Yep.
Right. I remember that saying in high school, don't ever change, Dave. I remember so many people writing it on my yearbook. Don't change. Keep the same guy.
You're probably glad you changed now.
Oh my God. I see people that have never changed. And I think that's one of the biggest insults you can tell anybody, man. You haven't changed. That's one of the biggest insults you can hear.
Wow. Most people say that like looks wise, and that's good. But like as a person, that's a good point. Yeah, I freaking changed, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
we want to stay looking young. You still look young, right? I want to stay looking young.
Yeah, you do too.
Right. But I don't want to be the same guy saying the same words, having the same conversations.
Yes.
That do not promote ideas.
Yep.
Do not promote strategy. That do not promote growth internally and externally.
Yes.
And when you have that type of mindset, that is change, and it'll make people feel uncomfortable. But my wife checked me one day and said, Dave, don't lower yourself to people that are beneath you. Bring them up. Make them feel uncomfortable instead of you going down to their level. And I said, man, that's hard because I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable around me. But you know what? They'll thank me later. Because they need to have these growth mentality, these growth conversations.
100%. 100%. But what does your agency do now? Like, what do you specialize in? What do you focus on? You do well. What did you originally start out selling? How did you transition? What are the next 18, years look like?
So we all started with mortgage protection, right? Those pink mailers that came in the door, and back then we sold nothing but term insurance, fully underwritten, AIG. For those of you guys that know that company, one of the most competitive companies. But what the problem is with fully underwritten is most people get declined, or at least half of the business that you submit. And with mortgage protection, we started selling term insurance. We got really good at it. We started finding value, finding opportunity, creating an emotional purchase, because it's not a transactional, it's emotional.
Yep.
And you have to be able to ask questions so the client can sell themselves. So we started getting really good at asking questions so the client can visualize what's going to happen with the insurance and what's going to visualize if they do not have the insurance. And who's going to get impacted. The person that's sitting on this table and the 2 little kids that are sitting here watching. We got really good at building value of insurance. And we became, I want to say, like 90% closers. We can't close them all, but you can close 90% of the people that you get in front of by asking strategic questions, which we train on all the time in our office. And then we started getting a little bit more further into depth with their finances and started learning a little bit about what their background is. Because one of the objections that always come up is, hey, well, I got a plan. Oh, I got some, if I don't get this insurance, they got to figure it out. I got something going on for them, or I got this retirement plan. Yes. And then all of a sudden we started learning that we have to ask further questions to really show that perspective, the financial plan that you got, whether it's having insurance or some type of retirement or very little retirement. Because I love it when people try to say that my 401k is a death benefit, because I love to break that down and say, okay, well, you want your retirement to be a tool for death benefit. Look how much tax implication is going to be created by doing that. Yeah. And you're trying to avoid to pay $100 for life insurance when this happens, and you use it as a death benefit. Your family's going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars. And all of a sudden they see that and
you can use $100 and not pay hundreds of thousands.
Exactly. So then we started finding ways.
That's good.
And we found assets. And then we started rolling assets from old 401ks, old IRAs or underperforming into annuities. And we started finding ways on how to use lazy money that's sitting in a savings account that's doing nothing, and put it in positions to compound interest. We found ways on how to be able to structure an index universal life to its highest performance opportunity. I know index universal life is one of the most sold products out there in the market because of the opportunity to earn cash value, but it does not perform as a compounding interest cash value vehicle to the average agent that's selling it. But when you structure it properly and you structure it so the death benefit and the cost of insurance is down minimal and the cash accumulation is the max, it just becomes an amazing tool that will give them safety and give them liquidity and compounding interest instead of keeping the money in the bank doing little to nothing. Yeah. And what we started finding is that people want to have those conversations. It's just training the team to be comfortable having those conversations. Yeah. Because how many people out there ask, what's in your savings account? Little to none.
Yeah.
I know I was uncomfortable. Hey, Cody, what's do you guys have any savings? I remember doing that, quivering. Yeah. And now it's, if you don't have anything in savings, that is another tool that I can use on why insurance is so important. So we want to be able to pull the curtains back on your entire financial situation. So now there's nothing that you're going to say, I got a plan, or this came up or that came up. We know what your income is. We know what your expenses is. We know what your financial background is. So your family can either benefit from this or you have no plan. And now there's no, I got a plan. The wife sees it. The husband sees it. It's clear. I don't have to sell the insurance.
Right.
The information's on the table. And now all I got to do is say, hey, here's a situation. What would you rather be educated on? Retirement, cash accumulation, or insurance? Based upon what we just discovered. And they say, I want this.
That's good.
Educate them. And now we're able to make these big sales that we've never made before in our lives. I mean, the average agent makes, what, an $800, $900 annual premium?
Yeah.
You know, our average agent does $2,400 in annual premium on average because of these opportunities to uncover their financial situation, ask questions, and be able to educate them properly.
3 to 1 too, you know? How does when did you first make your first 6 figures? Was
my second year in the business.
Can you teach others to do that too?
Oh yeah.
And how would they go about doing that, you think?
So it's really simple, right? You got to keep it simple. Otherwise, if you complicate it, nobody's going to do it. So and when I first made my first 6 figures, it's really focusing on 3 things. It's either I'm going to be in front of clients, I'm going to be on the phone, or I'm going to be studying my scripts. That's it. I'm either selling insurance, I'm dialing to set more appointments, replacing my no-shows, or I'm studying my scripts and preparing for my next appointment. That's the only 3 things I need to focus on. And when, let's say, for instance, we need to be able to commit to a certain amount of activity. So let's say, hey, Dave, I'm going to dial $300 today. With $300, I should be able to set anywhere between 3 to 6 appointments. And that agent does $300 but doesn't set 3 to 6. They set 1 or none. We need a conversation on what you're doing wrong on the phones.
Yep.
Because contacts will give you appointments. And if you're not getting any contacts, well, I just know you're just not dialing.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're getting contacts, and you should be setting a certain amount of appointments based upon a certain amount of contacts. Now, if you're not, you're saying something with lack of confidence. You're saying something that word just does not work in this presentation. Mm-hmm. Let's take that out. And let's make sure you get tweaked a little bit, because that's all. It's a game of inches, right? It's like golf. Golf is a game of inches. In the insurance game, it's a game of inches. We just got to move a little bit left, a little bit right, and then you're just right. And I can tell you that when I first started, I was constantly corrected on a daily basis, and that's why we got good so fast. Most people try to avoid being corrected as much as they can because they don't want to become vulnerable, and that's the problem. Listen, you're not going to get better by it. Nobody can self-correct until you have a ton of experience.
Yeah.
And once you have that experience, you can kind of do it, but you still don't want to self-correct. Go to somebody, doesn't matter who they are, better than you or worse, but just kind of explain, hey, is this a scenario? What do you think I can do different? And somebody that has very little experience can tell you, well, what about this or what about that? But it's about that community. It's about sharing and saying, hey, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better?
Yeah.
Because there's no such thing as a no-sell.
What about transitioning to like building a business and actually getting to 7 figures at some point?
Oh, I love this conversation. I love this conversation because now you got to level up. Yeah. It's easy to make 6 figures in the insurance industry with leads. You can say, everybody's like, oh, qualified leads. There's no such thing as qualified leads. They're all good. You have to be the qualified one. Not the
Amen
leads.
to that.
And when it comes to transitioning from being a solopreneur to an entrepreneur, now your mindset changes. You have to grow. It's a must. Everybody wants to have this time and money balance where, hey, I can make all the money and I can have all the time in the world. But there's something that's got to give. And what that is your ego. What that is the fact that you think you know how to manage and lead people. Because that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to sell insurance. It's hard to train and develop and create producers. So the transition was, how do I keep my income where it's at? And how do I build an agency? And for like about a year, I want to say for about the first 3 years, I worked between 10 to 12 hours a day for 4 or 5 days, sometimes 6 days a week. So I'm able to keep my income where it's at and I can develop other agents. And the moment one agent became a top producer, boom, he's where you need to be. I don't need to spend a lot of time on him. Gotta win to the next, and then to the next, and then to the next. And I would not, and this is one of the problems with recruiting is that people want just anybody that with the pulse. Come on in.
Amen to that.
And unfortunately, not everybody's meant for this business. So you have to strategically have these conversations with the right people, not with just anybody. And who is that right person? Well, you can kind of tell when someone's an entrepreneur at heart or is a go-getter or wants more in their life. And those are the people you want to go after first.
Yeah.
And then once they got them on board, you got them licensed, you give them all the support that they need to get where they want. And of course, some people are not going to work out. Hey, dude, this is not for me. I don't like all this negativity on the phone. I can't shake off the objections. Okay, you go to the next, and you go to the next best person. So what I would say is a lot of people, how I did it is I started recruiting slowly and eventually started recruiting fast. But I started recruiting slow so I can make sure that one person that I brought in is going to be successful.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you got 2, you got 3, you got 5. I mean, my first $1 million in production was with 10 guys.
That's crazy.
It wasn't with 50.
$1 million with 10.
10. And I'm talking about issue paid business.
Wow.
Right? I did 200. The other guy would do 200. The other guy would do 150. The other guy would do 100. And you got your top producers all the way to your bottom. But my
that's solid.
Weakest producer probably did like $80,000 in issue paid business.
Jeez.
Which a lot of people would love that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's like a lot of their top producer would be that, Yeah.
And then the next thing is to eventually start learning how to liberate that top producer and say, hey, you're next to start doing the same thing. If I were to do it all over again, the moment I see somebody really taking off and, hey, they want this, is to start training them and mentoring them so they can start building their own agency right away. Because that's the next thing is you want to identify talent right away and start training them and molding them to become an agency owner as well. Because ultimately that's what you want. You want multiple agencies. You just don't want all of them under you. You can't handle that many people. It's like the military. The Navy SEALs are about 6 people deep. 8 people. It's a small little group. If it's bigger than that, the influence dilutes. So you want other team leaders to go out there and do it the moment you see that this guy got it. And does he want it?
Yes.
And then start grooming them.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's smart. I like that the way you did that too. Let's transition to your wife and kids. What do they mean to you, man? And talk about Cindy and your children.
Oh man, growing up, I had watching my parents grow up, and you think that parenting in a relationship, that's what it looks like, and so then you think that's what you need to do. And again, I learned from my parents. And I knew that I didn't want a relationship like they did, where the emotions are low, the affections are low. And so when I got married to Cindy, I told her, babe, I don't want you to work. I want you to be home taking care of the kids. I want you to be a mother to my children. And she was totally cool with it. Yeah, I'll do it. No problem. And we had our first baby, and Aldo was born. And we had a really hard time conceiving. It was... you think it's easy. You get married, you pop out a kid 2-3 months later or a year later, and it's not true. Everybody's is different. And, we probably, I wonder if I can remember correctly. My wife will probably correct me on this, but I think we had 5 pregnancies and 2 babies. So
Wow.
it was very tough. And the one that was probably the most emotional to me and Cindy is our baby Jacob. Sorry. I used to be able to talk about this, and sometimes it gets me, but
Yeah.
7 months into the pregnancy, we had to deliver him as a stillbirth. And the first 5 years, I couldn't talk about it at all without shedding tears. And today, it's still very hard for me to talk about him.
Yeah.
But, we leaned on our faith more after that. We leaned on God. I got closer to
see
him
it.
because I couldn't, if I didn't, I know my relationship was going to go to disaster. Like, I saw divorce. I saw, hey, this isn't going to work out. And I had to get closer to God. She got closer to God. And we grew closer together. We started really leaning on him, on God. And then a year and a half later, we were able to have Aldo. And that was, again, the happiest moment of our lives, full of joy. Being a parent, you don't know what it is to be a parent. And all you know is what your parents did to you. And is that good enough? Well, to some people it is, and to some people it isn't. I didn't want to be like my parents. I wanted to be a better dad. I wanted to be there. I wanted my wife to be a mom. Like I didn't have my mom all around all the time. So, having Aldo, it completely changed my life. It made me want to work towards him now. And then I started realizing that, hey, I need to be around. So I was like, man, but I'm working. I loved what I did. And I'm working 10, 12 hours a day, seeing clients, making money, driving the cars you want. And all of a sudden, my wife's like, hey, you need to be around. Like, he's getting older and you're not here. And so I had to change my work ethic. I had to change my schedule so I can be home and I can spend time. And I started justifying it this way. I said, hey, listen, if I'm not here Monday through Thursday, at least weekends I'm here. And I can do things with my son. I can take him to Disney. I can take him to here. I can take him places instead of hanging out at the house. Because that's what my upbringings were. We're just hanging out at the house.
Yeah.
But that's not enough, man. You got to be there. If you want to be an exceptional dad, you got to be there. You got to talk to them. You got to read to them. You got to be consistently building a relationship with conversation. It's not just what you do.
Yeah.
It's what you're conversing about. And then, we had our second boy, Julian, which, although such a good kid, he's growing. No, he didn't cry a lot. He didn't, very smart, did what we told him to do. And then Julian was the complete opposite of Aldo.
Yeah.
Julian, he's a firecracker. He's all over the place. He has no fear whatsoever. He's the guy jumping off the table, and he reminds me a lot about me when I was a kid, getting in trouble and stuff. But he's a risk taker, and I'm so glad I was able to have 2 boys, because now they can help each other grow. But it is both hard working. It's hard for 2 kids against 2 parents, and they think they're smarter than you. It's so funny because I've learned this, that your children will absorb all of your intelligence in their first 5 years of their life. All of your intelligence, they'll absorb it in the first 5 years of your life.
Wow.
And I remember doing the same thing with my dad. I thought, man, I'm smarter than my dad just because he doesn't have a college degree and all that. But experience is more valuable than knowledge. But your kids will think they're smarter than you. And this is where now the obligation as a parent to get better and to ask better questions and not try to overpower them with your strength, but overpower them with your mind and ask questions so they can understand that you will always be able to outperform them because you will always be smarter than them because of the fact that, hey, daddy cares to be better, and I'm not going to allow you to manipulate me with my own words, because they will, right? They'll try to use your words against, and then he got me. I got to find a better way to ask this question or be able to use some psychology behind it. So my life has changed completely because of these kids, and I love it, and they've made me so much better. I've realized that being a parent is the next level of being an adult. If you You think you're an adult when you have kids. I'm sorry, before you have kids, when you turn 18, when you turn 21, I'm an adult. It's not until you have that responsibility that really makes you change, because it's not about you anymore. It's about them. It's about their growth, and it's about their development. And listen, you don't have to care about their growth. Let them figure it out. And I remember my parents telling me that. Well, I figured it out. You should too. And what's going to happen is you're going to pay for it in other ways, with emotion, with trouble, with things like that will come up. And today in society, man, it's harder than ever. I mean, I am a stickler with TV. My kids do not watch. I don't watch TV.
That's awesome.
They don't watch TV.
That's awesome.
Electronics are limited.
That's awesome.
Because it's so easy to get bad information from a tablet.
And then the society's the one teaching your kids.
That's
good.
I heard it the other day. I don't want society to indoctrinate my kids. I want to indoctrinate my kids. They're going to be my project.
100%.
And I care to do that, and I care to be around. And my wife now helps me with the business, which is amazing. She fills in all of my flat spots, but she's there with the kids 4 days out of the week. I'm there with the kids 3 to 4 days out of the week. And when I said earlier, you have to have your why. Your why has to grow.
Yeah.
And they're growing my why to grow my business, because my business will only get as big as my why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you're creating a life for them, that maybe you didn't have and that you want them to have,
I did this for this summer. My son's summer break. I said, you're going to come with me one day out of the week. You're going to come to the office and you're going to watch Daddy work. I know you're not going to like it, but I want you to see me work and see how Daddy does all this for everybody. And okay. And he's over there, moaning and groaning, but I want to start him young and start seeing what it is. He's 7. He'll be 8 this year.
That's good, dude. Flying by, man. It's crazy.
Flying by, man.
It's cool.
And I can't be next to him at school, but he can be next to me at work.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially for these next couple of months.
Dude, I love it. If someone wants to learn more, talk to you, whatever, whether it's cell number or an office number or an email or a website or whatever, what should they do? They can obviously follow you at The Real David Alvarado on Instagram.
Yes.
But if they want to reach out and chat or learn more or get help, what should they do?
Well, again, social media is the fastest way to get a hold of anybody nowadays, right? Yep. You can find me on social media, The Real David Alvarado, and that's on Instagram. You got Facebook, you got LinkedIn. I'm on all those platforms, and just reach out and send me a message, a DM, and we can chat. I can definitely put my information in the bio, and that way you can reach out to me. We can have another conversation about what what we talked about today. And this is what it is, just conversations, and see where it fits.
True.
And a seed turns into a plant one day, but hopefully I planted a lot of seeds in a lot of minds out there that are watching.
You did. You were amazing, and I appreciate you being a part of the Power Player Podcast. You're awesome, bro.
Man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank
Super
you,
excited.
man. So good. Okay, I loved it. This was an amazing episode. One of our longer episodes. That's how good it was. We've been going an hour and 12 minutes. Thank y'all for being with us and being a part of the Power Player Podcast. Give David some love. Follow him online. Reach out, and shoot him a message, and we'll see you on the next episode. Adios.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there.
I'm so excited for today's CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins. We got a special guest. He is back on the channel talking about how to sell life insurance from home. Here's what I love about this person. I'm telling you, this will be one of the best.